And this is the new iPhone Air, and check this out, these are the iPhone 17 Pro and iPhone 17 Pro Max. Which iPhone are you going to buy? At least tell me, which one was your favorite iPhone now that Apple has introduced the new iPhone 17, iPhone 17 Air, iPhone 17 Pro and iPhone 17 Pro Max? And that long-awaited day of the year has finally arrived when Apple unveiled all these new products, Apple Watch, some AirPods 3. But definitely, the iPhone was the star of the show. There are already many videos from my colleagues covering all the new technical features. So I'm going to get straight to the point using friendly language, and I'm going to tell you which is the ideal iPhone, or which one do I think could be the ideal iPhone for you out of all these new models, and what do I like most about each one of them. So let's get started. How about we start with the star of the show? Because the iPhone 17 iPhone Air is completely new. This is a completely new iPhone, and it's the thinnest iPhone ever, with just 5.6 millimeters of thickness. And something new is the grade 5 titanium that Apple used to make it durable. Nothing like a good cup of coffee to talk about Apple's new releases. Tell me, what are you drinking while watching this video? But I'm interested to know, what's your favorite iPhone? I'll give you a few seconds. Tell me, what's your favorite iPhone? Okay, let's continue. Who do I think the iPhone Air is for? This design honestly is pretty cool. Now we're going to look at it in more detail. I'll show you here. What do the actual dimensions look like? But I think this iPhone is for all those people like me who like minimalism, who like to have something lightweight. But that doesn't make it any less powerful. On the contrary, this iPhone has a lot of power. It has the A19 chip. It has fewer features than other iPhones that we'll talk about in depth later, but it also has a bigger screen. Apple tells us that with this iPhone, the battery will last you practically all day. And if not, there's an accessory that I'll tell you about in a moment. And something I like is that it has the action button and it also has the camera control button. Honestly, that's pretty good because even though it's extremely thin and extremely light, they kept this button that I thought I wouldn't use when the iPhone 16 Pro and 16 Pro Max first came out. But the truth is that I've already gotten used to it and I actually use it quite a lot in my day-to-day life. Now, I also like that it has the action button, which is a pretty simple button, but once you get used to it, you get spoiled. Because look, this is the only function I use, the flashlight, but I already know that when I reach in and press this button, I'm going to turn on the flashlight. But anyway, so I don't get off track. This iPhone is pretty complete when it comes to buttons and also in terms of what we have. One disadvantage it might have compared to other iPhones is that it only has one camera, but Apple tells us that this camera is like having 3 cameras in one. Look, actually, if you're someone who just wants to have the iPhone for its operating system, for its power, because the truth is that it records really good content, especially for creating content for social media. I think this is a pretty ideal iPhone. I wouldn't say it's an entry-level iPhone because that's what the iPhone 17 is for. We'll get to that topic now, but the iPhone 17 Air is actually pretty cool. I love the design. What Apple did is incredible. It's super thin, it's super minimalistic, and it's an iPhone that I would say is for those people who are looking for minimalism, but above all, a lightweight iPhone. Honestly, the screen size is pretty good. It's 6.5 inches, and it's Super Retina Extreme Dynamic Range, and you get everything you have on all iPhones. A 120 Hz screen, which actually can go down to 1 when it's off, because it has an always-on display, which basically means it's always on. Now, since it's such a lightweight iPhone, you might think it's aimed at people who take care of their stuff. I'm always dropping things, but that's not the case. Apple tells us that it has ceramic shield technology, both on the front and the back, and therefore it's one of the most durable iPhones they've ever made. So if you're careless like me, if you have butterfingers and things are always slipping out of your hands, don't worry because Apple tells us this iPhone is going to be quite durable. It also has USB Type-C, fast charging, and well, it's an iPhone. The truth is the design is incredible, and like I said, it's ideal for creating content because it has a technology called Center Stage, which actually all of the ones we're going to talk about will have. But basically, this technology allows you to take photos and videos with the front camera, and you'll be able to take them vertically or horizontally without needing to turn the iPhone. And the front camera is 18 megapixels, while the rear one is 48 megapixels. And you'll be able to record in 4K at 60 frames per second. Now, in terms of performance, both with this iPhone and with all the ones I'm going to mention in this video, don't worry, they're all super powerful, all of them. Since they're new and have the A19 chip, because this one has the A19, they won't let you down. It's going to be super smooth Apple Intelligence. You'll be able to run it really well. iOS 26, which is the update coming this year, will work great with all the features. So you won't have any performance issues with any of the ones we're going to talk about today. On the contrary, they're going to run really well. And I would say that this iPhone is aimed at those people who like to have a lot of power but also lightness. Many times the iPhone Pro, the Pro versions are super cool. I love everything they have, but they are heavier, they take up more space. So if you want portability, it's like the difference between using a MacBook Air and a MacBook Pro. Now we're touching on that topic. I don't want to get into too much detail, but I would say that this iPhone is for all those people who want to spend a little more, who have a bit more budget than the iPhone 17, who want to have the newest model, but also want to have all the power and the new Apple design in the palm of their hand. Now, about the battery, Apple tells us that it will last all day, but they also say that if you want more battery, they sell you a new accessory. A MagSafe battery, which is actually pretty cool, and this one is fast charging. You just put it on the back, and not just with this iPhone, with all the iPhones that Apple introduced, at least in Mexico, they're only going to use eSIM now. There won't be a physical card anymore. If you think that's bad news, it's actually the opposite. In fact, I have great news for you. In my company, in Revo, my phone service, we have eSIM. So if you're going to buy the new iPhone, it's the perfect excuse to switch. We also have physical cards. Go to ribotelecom.com. It's my business. Together with Jimmy Alvarez from Pongámoslo a Prueba, we have a plan for everyone. Imagine we even have an unlimited internet plan. So go to ribotelecom.com and tell them you came because of this video. Also, with every recharge you make with us, you support a good cause, children with cancer, stray dogs, or planting life, planting trees. It really works, it's amazing, and it'll work with the new iPhones. Show me and let me know if you're already with Revo. Now, let's get to the point. Here I have the iPhone Air. This is how it looks. Check out this official render from Apple. Let's get closer. Like I said, we have an iPhone, a single camera here on the right side. We have the flash, we have the microphone, one of the microphones. Let's go down. We have the Apple logo. Here we have it in white. Let's turn it around, and I want you to see the screen, this 6.5-inch screen. Here we have the power button, and what I love is that we have the camera button. Therefore, we have many features that we have in the Pro versions, which is pretty cool. Look at the small bump we have here. This is because it's extremely thin. So since it's so thin, well, obviously the sensors and the lenses had to be placed a certain way, and they managed to do it through that bump. Look, here we have the buttons to raise and lower the volume, and we have the action button. Here we have the antennas, which is where it connects to the network, and this is the new iPhone Air. What do you think? Let's see. This is the render, but obviously I'm going to do the unboxing. You can schedule it this Friday, and it will be available starting Friday, September 19th. You get it. Now let's move on to another model, which is one of my favorites, the iPhone 17 Pro and the iPhone 17 Pro Max. Who is this phone for? First, let's look at the main features. Look, something that changes this year is that they switched it to aluminum. All of this is because, thanks to this, the battery will last longer, since it's a material that can cool down faster. Besides, Apple introduced a new technology to achieve this. Along with the A19 Pro chip, this technology is called vapor chamber. And another new feature, thanks to this chip, is that you can charge up to 50% in just 20 minutes. And now you can have fast charging, at least via USB. Type-C, this iPhone does come in two sizes, which are 6.3 inches and 6.9 inches. This one has a Retina Extreme Dynamic Range display, which is also a ProMotion display with up to 120 Hz, and it's an always-on display. Up to this point, if you notice, the two iPhones we've seen have very similar technologies, the same technology in the displays. The battery promises to last a long time, though the iPhone 17 Pro and Pro Max have the biggest batteries available. These will definitely last you much longer than the iPhone 17 Air, so if what you want is battery life right from the start, the iPhone 17 Pro is for you. Maybe I wouldn't go with the Air, especially if you're someone who's going to be using it all day. I think the Pro or Pro Max is a bit more suited for you. Although, well, you know, you can always buy this new MagSafe battery. This iPhone also comes with Apple's N1 chip, which will improve wireless connections like Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. But something this iPhone has, something that sets it apart and makes it different from the others, is its camera system. It has 3 cameras. All 3 are 48 megapixels, 1 ultra-wide, 1 wide, and 1 camera with up to 8x optical zoom. This one also has center stage technology, which is what I mentioned, with the front camera, you can take photos photos in portrait mode, landscape mode, and photos up to 18 megapixels. You will also be able to record in 4K and high dynamic range, and when it comes to videos, you will be able to record videos in 4K at 120 frames per second. And another feature is that you can record videos in RAW. Which brings me to the next point. I think this iPhone, as its name suggests, is for professionals or for people who are at least going to be using the cameras. This iPhone is super focused on the cameras. Whether you're a photographer, this iPhone can replace your camera in many situations, not just for photos, but also if you're a videographer. Have they filmed movies with iPhones? In fact, they just released a movie. Apple itself released one that was completely filmed, that was produced with an iPhone. That's really impressive. And also, if you're a content creator, I think the iPhone 17 Pro or iPhone 17 Pro Max is for you. Let's see, that's regarding the cameras, which is what you'll get the most out of. But if you're someone who's on their phone all day and doesn't like having to charge it all the time, as long as the battery lasts much longer than the other models, any of these phones is for you, whether you want the 6.3-inch or the 6.9-inch one. That will depend on the screen and your budget, your money, but those would be the main differences. And what would I base my decision on to go from an Air to a Pro? Check this out, the iPhone 17 Pro and iPhone 17 Pro Max. This is how they look. Look, this is the new color. We have new colors on all the models, and look, these are the 348 megapixel cameras I was telling you about. The flash is positioned here on the right side. Here is the light detection and ranging sensor. Before we had them at the bottom. Here we have the microphone. These are the two screens. And now, another thing this iPhone has is that the antennas are located around the camera instead of having them all on this side. This will give you better signal. This iPhone has a Type-C connection. Here we have the action button to raise and lower the volume. Look, this bigger model is my favorite iPhone. I love this iPhone. What do you think of the new design? Do you like it? Let me know in the comments, and meanwhile, I'll show you here. This is how the camera button looks, and we still have the Apple logo there. Something that really stands out is that it was lowered a bit, so before it was more centered at the top. All of this has its engineering reasons, and basically this is the new iPhone 17 Pro and iPhone 17 Pro Max. We still have the notch and the front camera in the same place or a similar place, although it's a little smaller. How do you like it? Tell me, which is your favorite model now that you know who this model is aimed at? Now let's talk about the base model, the entry-level model. That doesn't make it any less powerful. In fact, as I was saying, all iPhones are super powerful, and this is the iPhone 17, the regular one, so to speak, because this year we no longer have the iPhone 17 Plus, just the iPhone 17, and from there it jumps to the Air. The iPhone 17, unlike the others I showed you, has two cameras. Remember, the Pro has three and the Air has only one camera. And one of them is the main camera with 2x optical zoom, and the other is a 48 megapixel ultra-wide camera. This iPhone, which, as I was saying, is a single model, has a 6.3-inch screen. It's a little bigger than last year. It's also going to be quite durable thanks to its Ceramic Shield 2 technology. Both on the front and the back, this iPhone also has center stage, which is what I mentioned about the front camera. Therefore, all the models have this. Oh, and something I hadn't mentioned, which all the models also have. Now you can record video with both the rear camera and the front camera using something called dual capture. You will have this on all the models, just like iOS 26 and Apple Intelligence. I'm going to make another video about these technologies, but anyway, this is the most important part. All the rear cameras on this iPhone are 48 megapixels, and you'll also be able to record in 4K at 60 frames per second. It also has a 120 Hz display, and always on display that goes down to 1 Hz, so it's going to be super powerful as well. It's embedded subscriber identity module only, at least in Mexico, and will have all the Apple Intelligence features through iOS 26. Is it the entry-level iPhone, so to speak? And who is it for? I think it's for all those people who aren't interested in having the thinnest one, because that's going to cost you more. That's the iPhone Air, but if you want an iPhone to upgrade, maybe you're coming from an iPhone 14 and iPhone 15, and you just want to go and make that jump. To have these new features, for example, taking photos without having to turn the phone around with the front camera, so it does it automatically. If you want to have everything new from Apple Intelligence in iOS 26, I think this phone is ideal. There are people who just don't want to use all the cameras on the Pro. They don't care about that part, but they want an iPhone with two cameras to have this ultra-wide one to take good photos. And believe me, this one will do the job pretty well. So this iPhone would be for everyone who wants to upgrade, who wants to make the jump, or even those who want to switch from Android to iPhone. I think this is a great product. I think this is the ideal product. In fact, I think this is the ideal iPhone. Look, this is how this iPhone looks. There we have the notch, and over here for the first time it comes to the iPhone 17. Well, this entry-level model, so to speak. The camera, the button to control the camera, and on the other side we still have the action button, the button to raise and lower the volume. It does have the antenna outputs on the side. There we see the two cameras, the flash, the Apple logo, and this is one of the new colors, the purple color. What do you think? What do you think about this, the iPhone 17? There were also more presentations like new AirPods and Apple Watch, but I wanted to focus this video mainly on the iPhones. Which one do I think is the ideal iPhone for you, or who do I think each iPhone is meant for? I hope I was able to answer your questions, or I hope I was able to teach you something you didn't know. There is great information and videos from my colleagues explaining all the details about the iPhone. But you already know that I prefer to do it casually, to do it in a friendly way, so that you and I can understand it with casual, friendly language. My friends, I'm Andres Neshudo. If you're not subscribed, subscribe, because all the iPhone unboxing and review videos are coming up, everything. So, to make sure you don't miss them, turn on the notification bell. I'm Andres Neshudo. See you in my next video. Big hug to everyone. Goodbye.